Every great success story begins with a struggle, and this one was no different. Before luxury offices, expensive cars, and millionaire lifestyles, there were two young hearts filled with dreams. They believed that love could conquer every obstacle. She stood beside him when he had nothing except determination and hope. While others laughed at his impossible ambitions, she believed in him without hesitation. Their life together was far from easy. They lived in a small apartment, counted every penny, and often worried about how they would pay the next month's bills. Yet, despite all the hardships, they were happy because they had each other. She worked extra hours, skipped buying things for herself, and sacrificed her own dreams so he could focus on building his future. Whenever he felt like giving up, she reminded him why he had started. She stayed awake late at night helping him prepare presentations, encouraging him before important meetings, and celebrating even the smallest victories. To her, his success would be their shared success. She never expected fame or recognition. All she wanted was to see the man she loved achieve his dreams. Months turned into years, and slowly, everything began to change. His business started growing. Investors noticed his talent, opportunities appeared, and the man who once struggled to afford dinner was now attending meetings in luxury hotels. Success came faster than either of them had imagined. But with success came something far more dangerous: pride. The humble man she had fallen in love with slowly disappeared. His schedule became busier, his phone never stopped ringing, and new friends surrounded him. These people admired his wealth but knew nothing about the difficult journey that had brought him there. They encouraged him to think bigger, live grander, and leave behind anything that reminded him of his past. Unfortunately, she became one of those reminders. He started believing she no longer fit into his new world. She wasn't glamorous enough for his business parties or wealthy enough for his elite social circle. The woman who had stood beside him during every failure suddenly became someone he felt embarrassed to introduce. One evening, after another successful business event, he asked to meet her. She smiled, thinking he had come to celebrate another achievement together. Instead, she heard the words that shattered her heart. He told her he had changed. He said their lives were moving in different directions and that he needed someone who matched his new lifestyle. He thanked her for everything she had done but claimed it was time to move on. His words cut deeper than any betrayal. She couldn't believe that the man she had supported through every failure was leaving her because he had finally become successful. The promises they had made, the dreams they had shared, and the sacrifices she had made suddenly seemed meaningless. With tears in her eyes, she quietly walked away. She didn't beg him to stay. She didn't argue or seek revenge. She simply accepted the painful truth that sometimes the people you help the most are the first to forget your value. That night changed her life forever. As she looked at the city lights, she made a silent promise to herself. She would never allow heartbreak to define her future. Instead of letting pain destroy her, she would let it become her greatest motivation. She would build a life where her confidence came from her own achievements, not from anyone else's approval. She had lost the man she loved, but she had not lost her strength. Little did she know that destiny was preparing a future neither of them could imagine. The day would come when the roles would be completely reversed, and the woman he had left behind would become far more powerful than he had ever expected. The days after their breakup were the hardest of her life. Every corner of the city reminded her of the dreams they had once shared. There were moments when the pain felt unbearable, and she questioned whether she would ever smile again. But instead of allowing heartbreak to destroy her, she made a decision that would change her destiny forever. She chose growth over grief. She enrolled in business courses, learned from successful entrepreneurs, and worked tirelessly to improve her skills. While others spent weekends relaxing, she spent hers studying, networking, and building new opportunities. Every rejection became a lesson. Every failure became another step toward success. Years passed, and her determination began to pay off. She launched a small business with limited resources, facing countless challenges along the way. Many people doubted her abilities, but she refused to quit. Her honesty, intelligence, and leadership slowly earned the trust of clients and investors. One successful project led to another, and before long, her company became one of the fastest-growing businesses in the industry. Eventually, she was no longer known as the woman someone had left behind. She became a respected CEO, admired for her confidence, vision, and resilience. Employees looked up to her not just because she was successful, but because she treated everyone with kindness and respect. She never forgot what it felt like to struggle, and she made sure every hardworking employee had the opportunities she once wished for herself. While her life continued to rise, his life was taking a very different path. The success that had once made him proud slowly began to disappear. Driven by overconfidence, he made risky business decisions and ignored the advice of loyal colleagues. The friends who had surrounded him during his wealth vanished when the money stopped flowing. Investors withdrew their support, contracts were cancelled, and the company he had worked so hard to build began collapsing. Within a few years, he had lost almost everything. The luxury lifestyle he once enjoyed was gone. He sold his expensive car, moved into a smaller apartment, and searched desperately for a job. For the first time in years, he understood how quickly success could disappear when it was built on pride instead of humility. After weeks of searching, he finally received an interview invitation from one of the country's most successful corporations. Grateful for the opportunity, he prepared carefully, hoping this job would help him rebuild his life. He had no idea who owned the company. On his first day, he walked through the elegant office building, amazed by its size and reputation. The employees spoke proudly about their CEO, describing her as brilliant, fair, and inspiring. Her story had become a symbol of determination and resilience. Then the conference room doors opened. Standing at the front of the room was the woman he had abandoned years ago. She looked calm, confident, and powerful. There was no anger on her face, only quiet dignity. The woman he once believed was not good enough had become the leader of the company where he had just accepted a job. In that unforgettable moment, he realized that life had come full circle. The person he had underestimated was now the one holding the future of his career in her hands. Walking into the company every morning was no longer just another workday for him. Every hallway reminded him of the woman he had once taken for granted. The employees admired her leadership, respected her honesty, and spoke about how she had built the company from the ground up through determination and hard work. Listening to their stories filled him with both pride and regret. He realized that the success she enjoyed today had not come from luck, it had come from years of sacrifice, discipline, and courage. Although she was now his CEO, she treated him exactly as she treated every other employee. She never humiliated him in front of others or reminded him of the past. Her professionalism surprised him even more than her success. She focused only on the work, making fair decisions and expecting the same level of commitment from everyone. For him, however, every day was a painful reminder of the choices he had made. He often found himself remembering the nights when they had dreamed about building a future together. He remembered the tiny apartment, the instant noodles they shared, the encouraging words she had whispered whenever he wanted to quit. Most of all, he remembered the day he had broken her heart because he believed success had made him too important for the woman who had stood beside him from the beginning. Weeks passed, and he worked harder than ever before. He stayed late at the office, completed every assignment carefully, and slowly earned the respect of his coworkers. He wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. He simply wanted to become a better person than the one he used to be. Then payday arrived. As he opened the envelope containing his first paycheck, his hands suddenly froze. At the bottom of the document was the signature of the company's CEO. Her signature. The woman he had abandoned years ago was now the one signing the paycheck that allowed him to rebuild his life. In that single moment, he understood the full meaning of karma. Life had a way of returning people to the places where they needed to learn the lessons they had once ignored. Success had once convinced him that he no longer needed her. Now, the person he had underestimated had become the reason he could move forward again. That evening, he asked to speak with her privately. Standing in her office, he struggled to find the right words. For the first time in many years, his confidence disappeared. Looking into her eyes, he admitted everything. He confessed that success had filled him with pride, that he had allowed money and status to change who he was, and that leaving her was the greatest mistake of his life. He apologized sincerely, not because he wanted his old life back, but because he finally understood how deeply he had hurt the person who had loved him unconditionally. She listened quietly without interrupting. After a long silence, she smiled gently. "I forgave you a long time ago," she said. "Not because you deserved it, but because I deserved peace." Her words carried no anger, only wisdom. She explained that the pain he had caused became the reason she discovered her own strength. Losing him had forced her to believe in herself. While she would never erase the past, she no longer allowed it to control her future. He lowered his head, knowing there was nothing more he could say. As he left her office, he realized that true success was never about wealth, expensive suits, or impressive titles. Real success was measured by character, loyalty, humility, and the way people treated those who stood beside them during difficult times. The woman he once left behind had become more than a successful CEO. She had become living proof that dignity, perseverance, and self-respect can transform heartbreak into greatness. And as he held the paycheck she had signed, he understood that some lessons arrive too late, but they can still change a person's life forever.